So what is God going to do with a guilty person?
Depends what it is, what they're guilty of.
I'm going to go ahead and ask this question. I'm going to just throw it out there and see what you think. Do you think God exists?
I'm a bit like that.
You're 50-50? Yeah. Wilster?
Yes.
It's a yes to God existing, yeah?
Yes, I believe God exists.
Okay, so would you say you're a Christian?
Yes. To be honest, it's a bit complicated because I've been around so many churches and never been to actually stayed at one. But my family are Catholics, Roman Catholic, I think, to be honest. But I'm not really too sure why I'm not so. But I've been baptized in that. So yeah.
So you would say you sometimes go to church, is what you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, I've not been in a while though, so I've been looking to go back, start going again.
Yeah. So you're 50-50, so you don't know, you're open-minded, you're happy to consider the possibility. For you, definitely God does exist, yeah? Well, let me ask you one more question to see where you would go with that. Do you think heaven and hell exists?
Yes.
Okay, and can you understand the possibility that if God did exist, that heaven and hell would exist? Can you get that?
Yeah.
Good. Who goes to heaven and who goes to hell?
Good people go to heaven and bad people go to hell.
Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah. People it goes a little bit further into that, but then more or less on the lines. So people that have sinned in their life and not appreciated God or even shown God are the people that will go to hell. And then the people that have showed love to God and be faithful and not committed any sins are the ones that will go to heaven.
So people who are faithful to God, who obey what He says, end up going to heaven, and those people who don't do those things, even if they do believe in God, will end up in hell. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, is that of interest? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. That's what I've heard as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you said the good people go to heaven and bad people go to hell.
People who sin go to hell.
Say again?
People who sin.
People who sin.
They're the people who go to hell.
Right. Okay. Would you agree?
Partially because yes, it's sinning, but then there's commandments. That's where the sinning comes into it. So if you break any of the commandments, that's the sin. So that's where if you're breaking the commandments, then you're sinning against God.
That's very interesting. Would you say you've broken any of the commandments?
Yes.
Yeah. So where are you going?
I'm going to hell, but I want to turn that around.
Okay, you see, you walked into that, yeah? Have you broken any of the commandments?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to find out. Instead of just saying yes, we're going to find out if it's true, all right? Because, I don't know if you know the commandments. Do you know any of the commandments?
Thou shalt not steal.
Have you done that?
Yes, I steal.
Okay, so what would you call somebody who steals?
Thief, yeah.
Have you done that?
When I was younger.
Right, and what else in the commandments?
Thou shalt respect their parents.
Have you always honored your parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then things were complicated.
Yeah, more recently it's got better. When I was younger.
So in the past you haven't. So you broke that commandment then?
In the past, yeah.
Okay. And what else is there in the commandments that you know of?
Thou shalt love their neighbor like they love their souls or something like that. Yeah.
Well, that's what Jesus kind of summarized the commandments with later on. Yeah. So it's not strictly the 10 Commandments, although you really have to love your neighbor, not to
not kill. That's what.
Not kill, right? Okay.
Thou shalt not commit in this adultery.
Adultery. So what does that mean? What does adultery mean?
Cheating on your wife or husband. And
yeah, if you're married.
Yeah. Having sex before marriage.
Well, that's not in the commandments, but
goes along that, something like into that. It is a sin. It classes as a sin, but it's not in the commandments.
You're not far off. Jesus said, even if you look at another woman with lustful desires, you've committed adultery with that person in your heart. Would you say you've looked at a woman before and had lustful desires?
Yes.
Okay. So you're guilty of that commandment. So you've broken the 7th commandment that Jesus referred to. If you look with desires, you've broken that commandment. So you've committed adultery in your heart. Yeah, so far?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to do a quick summary, okay? So far you've told me you've stolen, you've disobeyed your parents at some point in your life, which makes you disobedient, and you have committed adultery in your heart. So you've broken a few commandments, right? Yeah. So if you appear before God on Judgment Day, and He can see all things, even the commandments you haven't told me about, would you come out innocent or guilty in His courtroom with regards to the 10 Commandments?
It's kind of 50, like it's 50-50, because there's a lot of bad things, but then at the same time, you get me, like, when you look, there's good things, you get me, that more or less match it as well, you get me. So it's one of them ones. It depends on what he personally thought himself, you get me, like what he knows us from because as he created us, so he only knows himself to be able to decide what.
And what's your opinion on that, Jordan? If I ask the question again, just to be clear, if you appear before God in His courtroom, would you be innocent or guilty of breaking God's commandments?
I'd be guilty.
Okay, that was a quicker answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, guilty. I'd be guilty, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't hear it, so I think, yeah.
So I think you were trying to preempt my next question, and where you're going to compare your good with your bad, because my next question is going to be, what would God do with a guilty person? Would He let them go free, or would He punish them? So that's my next question. I think you were preempting that. So I'm going to go to Jordan to see what he thinks. So what is God going to do with a guilty person?
Depends what it is, what they're guilty of.
Well, it's a crime. You broke God's laws, and therefore you're guilty, and you're a criminal in His eyes. So what would God do with a criminal?
Send it to hell.
And
what do you think?
Yeah, send them to hell. But if you're really, like, if
you could have made up for it.
Yeah, if like, it's one of the ones, if you repent for what you've done and you genuinely mean it, knowing that you're not going to go back to make the same mistakes again, then He'd possibly overlook that. But if you're constantly doing the same sins over again, then you're guilty because you're still not changing your ways. So
that's interesting, because in the beginning, earlier on, you were trying to tell me that God takes your good and your bad, but now you're saying something slightly different. You're saying if you turn away from those things, if you repent, then He will do something else. He will save you, effectively, is what you're saying. So which one is it? Do you have to do something, or do you repent?
Well, you have to give yourself to God, more or less. Yeah, man. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Not that you have to do some good to make up for your bad. I mean, a criminal who actually went out and stole a car, what would he have to do to make up for stealing a car? I mean, he's just a criminal. He has to go to prison and pay for it, right? So any criminal who does something bad pays for the crime. He doesn't go off and, I mean, if somebody rapes a woman, he doesn't go off and do some good deed to undo it. He has to pay for the crime. Do you agree with that? Yeah. So if God is no less than a normal judge, He's not going to let a criminal go. He's going to make them pay for their crime. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Now, at this moment in time, Jordan, you're in trouble, because if God gives you what you deserve, you're going to go to hell. Would that concern you?
Yeah.
Yes. And you?
Yeah.
It will concern you if you end up in hell, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I've got some good news, because so far, it was all bad news. I basically condemned you. I told you that you're a criminal before God, and there is no way out. If God gave you what you deserve, you're going straight to hell. You know why you have to do that? Because God is just. He can't just let you go. He's not going to just say, oh, I'm going to overlook your crime, because that will make Him a corrupt judge. A judge doesn't let a criminal go. He makes sure there's punishment. And that's the reason why there has to be a hell. Because if a judge upholds righteousness, in other words, upholds the law, he has to have a prison to send people to. A lack of a prison would suggest that a judge doesn't care about right and wrong, because he doesn't want to punish the criminal. But what does God do, who also has an endless amount of love and desire for forgiveness and mercy? What does He do? He wants to judge you because that's the right thing to do, but He also wants to forgive you because He loves you. So how does He reconcile those two together? This is what He does. He comes down Himself into humanity. He did that 2,000 years ago in the person of Jesus. And He died a horrible death, voluntarily lays down His life. And then He rose again on the third day. He dies on the cross, He rose again on the third day. And now when you appear before God on Judgment Day, because someone else paid for your fine, He can let you go. There is kind of a legal transaction that took place. You're a criminal, someone paid for your fine, and there was this transaction that took place. So this transaction says that the judge looks at you and he says, well, you're guilty, but someone else paid for your fine, so I'm going to let you go free. Can you see that? Can you see how justice is working with mercy at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
So the cross is the place where both justice and mercies meet. To receive it, you need to repent. That means this is what you were talking about earlier, if you repent. And then the next thing that's really important, and this is the bit that makes a difference, is to put your trust in Jesus. If you just repent and you say sorry and turn away from those things, it's not sufficient. Because you need someone to pay for your crime, somebody to pay for your fine. And Jesus did that on the cross. So you need to put your trust entirely in Jesus. You can't put your trust in yourself, because if you did it, you've already broken the law, you're a criminal, you're not going to get yourself out of it. But you need to put your trust in Jesus. Can you see that? Can you see the two things you've got to do? Now tell me, if you don't get right with God and you die today, where would you go?
100% hell. 100% hell.
100%?
Yeah, 100%.
And what do you have to do to avoid it 100%?
Just get out of bad habits.
Well, we said two things, and it was to repent and
Put your trust in him.
repent and trust in God. I mean,
Right.
Jesus,
trust Jesus, because Jesus is going to save you from God's wrath, because he's angry at sin. But Jesus paid for the fine to rescue you from that. Isn't that incredible? When do you think you should do that? When do you think you should repent and put your faith in Jesus?
Straight away, really.
Straight away.
Because it would be foolishness to walk out of those doors and say to yourself, I'll be okay, when actually you're risking the most precious thing you have, which is your soul. Something happens, you die. I don't know, it's windy out there today. So if something flies off and hits you in the head and knocks you out and you die, then you end up in hell. What a risk. I mean, that's the most precious thing you're putting at risk. The right thing to do is to repent and put your trust in Jesus straight away. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Nothing can be more precious than that. Guys, I really want to thank you for your time, and I really want to encourage you to do two things. Put your trust in Jesus and follow and obey what he says. Do you think you can do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I really want to thank you for your time. I'm going to give you a couple of gifts. In that package I want to give you, there's also a Bible, which I want to encourage you to read. Do you have a Bible at home?
Bible on my phone.
You have a Bible in your phone. Well, this is going to come with a Bible and chocolate and various other things to help you move along with your understanding of what we just spoke. Is that okay? Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Wilster.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's the Bible, the New Testament. There you go. Well, you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you soon. I mean, tomorrow, I hope, yeah? If you can't make it for whatever reason, come the following week. I can't emphasize the importance of the commitment and anything else in life. So please think about it, yeah? So hopefully we'll see you again. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Hey, it's a pleasure, man.